advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
My message to any dad, man, first off, know that, yeah, it is a hard job, but it's the greatest job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't change anything about it. Everything you're doing from here on out, if it didn't have purpose before, now it has purpose. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Just be a dad.
Welcome to another episode of Dad is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color and fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative on the things I care about. And today I have a great guest with me today. He's a colleague. I'm not going to say where we work because I don't want to give him free advertisement. But he's an amazing dad. He's a husband. And he's going to share his story with us because I think it's important, especially when you talk about that demographic age group who's born in the 90s and what they're dealing with right now, trying to provide the best they can for their family. So I'm truly honored to have him on. Steve, thank you for coming on, Steve.
Hey, yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
But yeah, thank you for coming on because on what I want to do on this podcast as I want to have dads in the area that I live in, which is Bethlehem, PA, in the Allentown, Lehigh Valley area, to just share their personal journey into fatherhood. So again, I thank you for coming on and being on and being willing to share your story. So thank you again. Um, I ask all my guests who comes on the show because I'm all about mental health, especially for men in general, men of color, just fathers, just anyone in general. How's your heart?
Um, it's all right. I try to stay positive. It's not always easy, especially um, with all the turmoil in the world and the uncertainty financially in the future. But yeah, always trying to have something to look forward to, be it like sports, like I watch sports or playing video games or just hanging out with my daughter and my wife. Um, but yeah, I think that's a good way to stay positive, just trying to have something to look forward to.
And I think just you were born in '93. You're
Mhm.
part of that millennium generation, and a lot of people don't put this into importance that you've seen a lot. Um, you know, you went through 9/11, you went through two recessions, you went through COVID. Um, you got stuff that's going on, but just talk about, being that generation going through that and how that kind of mold and shape how you move in society today.
Yeah, I guess with some of that, at least like with 9/11 and the recessions, like being a kid, you don't really think about it too much at the time because you don't understand a lot about what's going on. Like only after the fact, like after you're an adult, then you start to like actually turn around and look at that. Like, whoa, like yeah, because you know, seeing I don't know, like what presidents are talking about when you're a kid, like you don't understand like anything. And I mean, it's just yeah, like you only get that perspective once you're an adult, really. But yeah, I didn't, and also with the recessions, like I didn't really feel the effects, like because well, my parents never really talked about money too much with me. I mean, I kind of learned uh, how to be a little bit cheap, I guess, from them. So I learned how to save from them. But yeah, sometimes you just never understand what your parents are going through. I guess it depends on if your parents are like more open with you or not. Um, yeah, so that's gonna be a tightrope to um, walk as my daughter gets older too, because we're not very wealthy. Um, yeah, we probably make like 50 to 60K a year total, and that's really not that much right now. But yeah, that's just gonna be something we'll have to explain to her. She's 3 right now, so we got a ways to go there. Um, but yeah, it's a lot to think about, and I'm kind of it's my only one. So that's um, I'm on the side of a newer parent, so it's there's a lot to learn still. Like I'm just learning to figure everything out, because it's kind of daunting, like uh, being in control of another human being's life. Especially when you feel like when you first have a kid, like you just feel super unqualified. Like you leave the hospital, it's like you're letting me take this innocent little baby home, like she's so fragile, and oh god, yeah. um but it's one day at a time. We're slowly learning new things, like we're getting her to brush her teeth every day, and she's starting to learn how to be potty trained, and so I think it's like slowly you figure it out. And as they get bigger, the problems that they have become bigger, and the challenges become bigger, and yeah, I'm excited, but also kind of terrified at the same time.
No, and I think that's important too. But my next question to you is, what are the qualities or tools that you learned from your parents that help you and you and your wife raising your daughter?
Um, I would say maybe, well, as a kid, I was kind of limited in what my parents would let me do. But I grew up in a Catholic family, so they were kind of a little bit strict. Um, I myself am not religious anymore, um, but yeah, my parents, we we didn't have a set bedtime, but it was around the same time every night. We had to do chores every week. Um, if we were punished, we'd have to write sentences, like hundreds of times over, if we got, in trouble at school or whatever. But I think my parents gave us a good like balance between like freedom and um, discipline. Because we had neighborhood kids that we'd go play with pretty much every day, and they had no problem letting us go over there to do that. Um, we weren't allowed to watch, certain things, like even The Simpsons was too much growing up. Which, looking back, that's like okay, that's a little overkill. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I would say I had a good childhood. Like my parents did a good job. Um, The they did lack a bit in the sex ed department, because that's a touchy topic, I think, especially with religious people.
Yeah.
Not just painting with broad brushes there, but I mean, with my Catholic parents, like they never wanted to really talk about it,
Right.
because it's icky or whatever, improper. Um, yeah, I mean, we had sex ed in like elementary school, but aside from that, like my parents didn't want to talk to us at all about it. And like I know that's hard, but I think it's important, to talk to your kids about like what's appropriate or not. Like you don't want them um to just not get any sort of education in that way. Because they could be getting abused by someone and they could think it's normal.
Right.
if they don't get like a good um, compass on that. So yeah, it's thinking about like teaching my daughter about that. Yeah, that's gonna be hard. Like it's gonna be hard to just like approach that subject. Um, but yeah, it's important. So we gonna wait till she's older and able to comprehend it. But like, yeah, it's just like I've heard that it's good to teach them like, okay, this is a no spot or whatever. Like shouldn't be touching people here. They shouldn't be touching you there.
Mhm.
That sort of thing. That they like just kind of frame it in a way where they can understand it. Um, so that uh, yeah. So, but yeah, in general, I'd say my childhood was pretty good. My parents were pretty responsible and caring and all that. And we still have a good relationship, even though we don't get along really politically or religiously.
Right.
We still talk all the time and
Right.
all that. I'm just glad they didn't disown me when I deconverted, basically, because I know a lot of parents do that.
Yeah.
And the kids are kind of dead to them if they're not, under the same religious banner. So
Right.
I'm
And
thankful for that.
just talk about that your parents accepted you for your choice, because like you said, like not all parents, but some parents would disown you because of
Hmm.
that. And what you did, that's huge if we
Yeah.
look at it in its broader range. But yeah, just talk about like what are the things that you learned from your parents that helps you with raising your child? Is there certain things um that you picked up and you're doing with your daughter? You're like, oh yeah, this is how my parents kind of molded me into who I am. So do you um catch yourself doing stuff that your parents did with you when you were a kid that you're doing with your daughter?
Um, I can't really think of anything in particular, but I definitely can hear my dad's voice sometimes coming out of my own mouth when I'm, telling her not to do something. I kind of hear it striking the same tone, and I'm just like, oh, whoa. Like I stop for a second and have to just kind of be amazed at that. Because, even though I'm not really like my parents in some ways, I feel like it's really difficult to um, not be like them at all. Because like I think anybody who really raises you, like you got a part of them inside you.
Yeah.
Um, be it like behaviors or tone or whatever. But I yeah, I gotta think like because going forward, like as she gets older, there's gonna be kids get in trouble. There's gonna be punishments. Um, maybe I'll have her writing sentences one day.
Okay.
Because I as a kid know that I absolutely hated that.
Right.
Um, so it obviously got through to me
Right.
uh, in some way. Um, so yeah, trying to
Well,
think of anything else, but maybe we'll have her do chores every week with us because we pretty much do that every week, just general upkeep around the house.
right. Also, just talk about when you're raising a child. Talk about like you were talking about how your parents gave you a little freedom but discipline. Raising a child. How do you balance that act of ha- giving your child some form of independence, but at the same time, you want to protect them, you know, but at the same time, you don't want them to make mistakes. But in life, as you get older, we're all going to make mistakes. So how do you balance the two of a child's freedom, curiosity, and when your parenting like discipline comes into play?
Um, yeah, I think yeah, that's another tightrope. That's gonna be tricky. And we kind of work on that a little bit now because, um, uh, for example, my wife has a beauty room with a bunch of like health beauty care products in it, and she goes in there sometimes with my wife. Um, my daughter does, and she knows that she's not supposed to touch too many things in there. She's allowed to play with like a few things, not like opening, bottles and making messes or anything, but just like maybe playing with some Q-tips or something. Um, so we give her like a a leash, kind of, so that she can play a little bit and be curious and kind of explore a little bit, but at the same time, she can't be getting too crazy with things, because she will. But and I think kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. Like they know like their limits at times. Not every time, but um, they figure a little bit out, and um, yeah, they know what they can and can't do, I think. But yeah, I think it's also important to like let them make some mistakes, not like huge ones, you know, just don't let them get too far off the rails, basically. Like keep them on track, but give them some freedom to make those mistakes, because that's how we learn. And I think if you are a helicopter parent, um, then it's kind of hurting their development a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it's really vague for now, just because I haven't had a lot of those experiences yet with, sending her off to school or dealing with bigger problems. Because right now, yeah, she's pretty early in development, but she's going crazy some days. Um, yeah, like she's allowed to run around the house and you know scream a little bit, but we gotta tell her, like, use your indoor voice, or like, you're jumping too much on the bed right now, you gotta calm down a little bit. So just little things like that, trying to keep her in line while still giving her the availability to like stretch her legs and run her energy out.
Right. No, and I think that's good too. And as a parent, you see, technology has played a role in a lot of um, kids, because you see it when you
Yeah,
go into the grocery store or any place. You see a parent and they give the kid a cell phone, an iPad pad to play around
mhm.
with. So, like, how do you as a parent balance the two of, like, she's in that development stage, and I see a lot of parents, especially with children the ch- that age, and they put like that technology in their face. So what do you do as a parent to kind of, like, how can I say it, um not like, not depend on technology, because sometimes I see it as technology raising kids instead of the parents raising the kids on their own. Um, so how do you kind of balance the act where, you let her do this on the iPad or cell phone, and not see, like, other parents kind of overdo it, like
Oh
have
yeah.
them with that for like hours.
um yeah, so she does get some time on the iPad. We don't really like have a hard limit for it. Like, first off, we don't have the regular YouTube app. We have the YouTube Kids app. That's pretty much the only thing she watches on the iPad. Um, and she might do that just to like kind of wind down the day, or like if she's um like tired out from running or playing or whatever. She might do it a couple hours a day, but um I don't know if this is just her in general versus other kids, but there's plenty of times where she'll see me walk past and she doesn't want that iPad anymore. She wants to put it down and go come play. Like, so I think as long as it's not their favorite thing to do,
Mm,
um, which I don't know how you can really like affect that. Maybe by playing with your kids more. I don't know, but yeah, uh, I'm just glad that she likes to do other stuff. We're still getting into reading books, like, you know, she's 3. She doesn't have that big of an attention span yet, so it might be like half a book and then she's done.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I think having a wide variety of things that they like to do, um, is a good thing. And yeah, you don't want to have them sitting on the iPad all the time. Like that's, they do definitely learn stuff from that. And I definitely think that you should make sure that they're not just on the regular YouTube, because there's a whole bunch of weird like videos and you can't monitor all of them. Like, e- especially when they're skipping to the next video, like every 30 seconds, you're not going to be able to monitor every single video that your kid watches. But the YouTube Kids app is a pretty good one for that. And just I try to get her interested in other things, like going outside. She really loves going outside. I mean, now that the weather's kind of nice right now, um, barring the excessive heat, um, it's a good opportunity for them to like just go outside and play and explore and whatever. Kids just love digging in dirt
yeah,
and running around, playing in the park, whatever, finding bugs. We heard a woodpecker the one day, and so we were going inside, and I asked her if she wanted to learn about woodpeckers. So I pulled up YouTube Kids and found some videos on woodpeckers. So she was really excited about that sort of thing, and it turned like just chilling on the iPad into like an actual like learning moment. And so now she
yeah,
knows about woodpeckers and what they do.
yeah,
Um, so I think, yeah, finding like a good balance between just having them chill out on the iPad while the parents can also chill out,
right.
and like learning and just playing in general. Because yeah, I get it. It's really hard to just always be on in parent mode. Sometimes you want to just sit back and have some me time or whatever. But yeah, it's useful, but yeah, you definitely need that balance. Um, or yeah, some parents do a hard limit. My parents had limited me to an hour a day for screen time, and I definitely don't adhere to that now, and it was hard to adhere to that back then, but I get it. Um, yeah.
And also, do you worry as your daughter gets older? Because the one thing I see nowadays, like where I live, there's a park, and I know when I was young, when I got out of school, we had to put on our take our school clothes off and put on our play clothes and go outside and play. You don't
At
see
school.
that anymore. Do you worry about that? Because I think at the earliest age, kids learn people skills on at an early age, and because you don't see kids in the park or engaging with other kids outside, I see them becoming adults that don't know how to have a conversation with another person. So do you worry about that as your daughter gets older and let's say she wants to go outside and go to the park and she don't see kids her age there?
Yeah, I mean, she uh, in our family circle, we don't she's really the youngest one by probably like 7 years or so. So there's no real kids around her age that she sees pretty regularly. Um, yeah, so we want to um we take her to the park occasionally, just because yeah, we do want her to see other kids, and like learn those skills because like we've taken her to the park in the past, and I've been kind of worried. Like I have to kind of I felt the need to kind of hover a little bit just because like I don't know how she's going to react to this other kid. I don't want her to just like pull up on this other kid and start beating them up, you know. Not that I think she would,
Right.
but she's kind of unpredictable as a toddler. But yeah, like experiences she has had with other kids have gone pretty well. Like, just playing with toys in a sandbox. Um, she has dealt with like another kid stealing like a toy that she was playing with. And we had to explain to her like how it's going to be okay. Like that's not, you know, they didn't mean it or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think we're once she's reasonably toilet trained, we're gonna try to enroll her in preschool next year, because we do want her to develop those relationships um, with people and get out a bit more, be more social. Not that me and my wife are the most social people in the world either. We're kind of homebodies ourselves, but we just want that for her at least.
And do you see sometimes she mimics you or your wife sometimes, like personality wise, or like certain like face she makes, and like yeah, that's what I do too. Um, um,
Yeah,
can you give me
yeah.
some scenarios?
Um, Yeah, so yeah, she definitely mimics words that we say. Like the other day, she just came up to me and said curiosity, and I have no idea. I had no idea at the time how she heard that, but apparently my wife had been saying that word to her, so she was mimicking that one. Um, and I definitely see a good mix of her personality. Um, it, she's got basically a mix of my wife's personality and my personality. Like I'm kind of goofy, and my wife's kind of sassy. So she's got that mix going
Mm,
on, and it's crazy to see because like over the past couple of years, she's just become a little person with her own personality and um, I don't know, silliness. But yeah, it's fun to see. Like I used to be somebody who thought that I'd never have kids. Um, but here we are. and we're planning on having another one in a couple of years. We don't want it to be too far apart, but we do want to be able to afford it. 'Cause kids are expensive. Formula, diapers, that all that. Childcare. I think we lucked out on that having a close family member. But yeah, it's uh it's a journey, all right.
and talk about that journey too, because you talk about the financial aspect of about it. Because if you look at data, in the past, the the generation after the next generation often most of the time does better than the previous generation. Like the way it's set up that the kids as they become adults will be better off than their parents. But today it's not the same because if you look at over 40 years of economic policies, um, for example, basically eliminating workers' rights, the dismantle of unions. You
Mhm.
see a dramatic difference of, you know, of young adults doing well in today's society. And, nowadays, you can't depend on one job. You have to work two jobs just to get by. You were saying that, you and your wife make 60 between $70,000 a year, and that's just getting by. But if you guys were
Mhm.
making that 20 years ago, you guys would be fine, where you would have enough to pay your bills, have enough to save, and then on top of it, be able to go on vacation. You can't do that now. So just talk about your personal journey, as young adults, um, you know, with a child when it comes to just financially.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had some opportunities in the past with schooling. Like I've dropped out of college twice, um, just because there was a lot of doubt in my mind. Like I think that I wanted to do something, and then I didn't stick with it. Looking back, I probably just should have sucked it up and done it. But yeah, I had opportunity, and that kind of passed me by due to some, poor time management skills and depression, and just a mix of those two things. But yeah, so I entered the workforce and kind of moved jobs around. Um, Never really figuring out what I want to do for a career. I I kind of just, wish things were like they had used to be like 30, 40 years ago, where you could just you go somewhere, you find work, you get paid, you go home. But it seems like there's not a lot of those types of like simple jobs anymore, unless you want to do some heavy manual labor or make a big sacrifice and just not be home a lot, like as a truck driver. Um, but yeah, so I'm slowly at this point uh, taking a class or two a year, slowly just getting a degree that way, because our company will pay for it a little bit each year.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, the financial issues that we face, I'm pretty worried that my daughter's gonna have a hard time, as you know things kind of seem like they're getting worse year to year. Like people are having to get more and more jobs, like picking up, like Uber and Instacart orders on the side, like just to get by, or just get a second standard job. um I certainly hope it gets better, but I'm not too hopeful that it will. But I guess you never know. um yeah, so um hopefully, as I finish my degree over the next 4 or 5 years, things will get better, or I find something that, maybe I get lucky and squeak in somewhere that has something better. Don't know. I did apply for something recently, but I don't know if that's gonna take. It's still at our company, but uh, I can tell you about that tomorrow or next week.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Hmm.
We could definitely do that, because I think it's important that stories like yours are shared, because I think everyone has their own personal struggles. I
Oh yeah.
think a lot of people are going through, you know, economic personal journeys, and I think it's important to tie that to policies that were put in place to put a lot of this generation in situations today. We should not. have this mindset of you got to pull up your own
Hmm.
bootstraps and figure it out. It don't work that way. It's about community. Um, there were community like programs that benefited everybody to bring up everybody, you know, not just benefit one person and then everyone else is just climbing up just to just get by. It shouldn't work that way. And now that's why I wanted you on because I just wanted you to share your story and share what you're going through, and hopefully that connects with somebody. But my last question to you is, you talked about dealing with depression, um,
Hmm.
but just talk about that vulnerability aspect. Have your daughter ever seen you cry, or your wife? And if you want to give a situation when it happened, and if you don't, I definitely understand.
Oh yeah. I don't think my daughter has, but my wife definitely has. Yeah, I think it's important to, just be yourself in front of your loved ones. Like they shouldn't have the wrong idea of who you are. Like be that lying to them in one way or another. Like they're the people in your life who matter the most. Like they should be uh, privy to who you are and what you stand for and what kind of person you are. Um, I guess be that good or bad, but yeah, and you should always be trying to be better for them. Like my wife and daughter inspire me to try to be a better person every day. Like I don't, if I didn't have them, I don't know if I would try as hard or at all. You know, um, so I know they give that to me, and thankful for that. Um, and I hope I can inspire them too.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely, man. And I appreciate you for coming on. It definitely means a lot that you were willing to come on. This was your first time coming on a podcast
yeah,
and share your personal story. That shows a lot of courage and strength and vulnerability to just come on and to say, yeah, I want to share my story. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. We definitely have to do another update to
sure.
see like what's going on, how's everything going. Again, this has been another great conversation on our podcast. Um, like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff, and we're out.
Do what he
Peace.
says.
All right, stay on for 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, let me end the recording.